We've been trying to figure stuff out for a very long time. No, way before this guy, or this guy, or this guy. Knowledge isn't something that just human beings come up with. Animals have knowledge too, and so do plants, and bacteria. They might not be self aware or conscious of it the way humans are, but they do have knowledge. So when you hear knowledge is power, it doesn't mean just knowledge of physics or economics. It means any information that you can use to affect things, like knowledge of how to make friends or use dating apps. So if you want to really understand how life and the universe works, then all knowledge matters. Now obviously that's a lot, but if you zoom out of all that knowledge and take a look at it from the top, it's actually not as complicated as you think it is. There are a few simple but powerful explanations that inform most of this knowledge. If you think about it, just this one explanation, simple things interacting leads to complicated things over time, explains so much of what's going on. The very initial simple things interacted for about 380,000 years in the early universe, and we got the atom, then molecules, then some more interactions for the stuff we can see, solids, liquids, gases, plasma, and eventually life. The evolution of initial life to humans itself is based on this very concept. But obviously not everything can be explained using this concept. Once human beings come into the picture, the nature of knowledge itself gets quite complicated. Our creativity and free will means that we can't really predict what humans will and won't do at any given moment. So technically, no amount of knowledge about the universe can help you predict if she will text you back or not. But there are other explanations that might be applicable to that specific problem. Explanations that, believe it or not, you could derive from quantum physics. You might have heard that quantum physics is weird, but from that weirdness comes a very powerful explanation that can actually answer the question, will she text me or not? And this explanation isn't just fiction anymore, it's almost formal science. Here's the concept. All events that obey the laws of physics happens in the multiverse. Once again, this one sentence explains so much of what's going on. I'm sorry that as strange as this answer might sound, the meta answer to the question is that she'll both text you and won't. And whether you receive the text or not depends on which universe you are in. But it doesn't mean that you can't use other types of explanations you have in your universe to ensure that you end up in the more happier universe. You obviously can. This concept of the multiverse, while still somewhat controversial, answers many of the will this or that happen type of questions. Like, will I get the job or not? Will the Knicks win tonight or the Lakers? Will there be a recession in 2024 or not? So just these two explanations open the doors to vast areas of knowledge, all the way from subatomic particles to outcomes in your league party tonight. But while these explanations scientifically make sense, they aren't necessarily useful in all contexts. While the explanation about quantum physics might help you feel better about some negative outcome, you clearly still need other explanations. An explanation that is actually useful in these situations comes from AI development. We keep hearing that all you need to do to get better at something is practice. 10,000 hours and you'll be great at it. If you've dated for several years, then you will be able to predict if she'll text you back or not. While obviously there's some value to learning through repetition, there's a deeper explanation that's clearly missing here. Think about it. You're able to predict ChatGPT's answers to questions with a much higher certainty than your girlfriend's answers. This is because all ChatGPT did was practice. That is, it learned all the existing answers. Your girlfriend, being a human, has creativity and free will, meaning as much as you might know all the potential answers from years of dating, she could just choose not to respond, or she might respond with something completely unexpected. So humans and the AI that we are currently building are fundamentally different, and this difference is captured in yet another powerful explanation. Free will and creativity in human beings means that you cannot predict real-world events easily, even after a lot of practice or data. And this applies to your personal life, global events, and pretty much anything that involves human decision-making. Now let's zoom out again, and you see that this third explanation can be used to understand much of human history in one broad stroke. No amount of practice that an Indian historian could have had in the 1500s helped him predict that the Europeans were building ships with high-tech navigation and that they would eventually reach the shores. New technology, whether ships or the internet, is often the way human creativity brings unpredictability to world-level events. So if your friend wants to know, why did unexpected event X happen in the year 1700 BC? You can respond, well, it's not very unexpected if you consider that our expectations are based on our data, and data cannot factor in for the chaos of human creativity and free will. So often the explanation for why she didn't text you back is, bruh, she playin'. There are a few other explanations that can be summarized in a sentence or maybe a paragraph, but inform so much of our knowledge. So while you might not be able to know everything there is to know in 10 minutes or even in a lifetime, you can surely get an overview of it all using powerful explanations. Given all the stuff you're supposed to know these days, we're all overwhelmed and have FOMO from not being able to keep up with everything. Will the James Webb Telescope find new black holes? Have I studied enough for the exam on Monday? But even just these 3 explanations tell us a lot about the knowledge that you need to answer these questions. Whatever complicated thing that the James Webb finds, it came from simple things interacting over time. Your exam on Monday will both go well and won't. You don't fully control the universe trajectory that you take. But there is knowledge in your current universe that might help you. But that knowledge isn't just about practicing more for your exams. Despite a lot of practice, you could still score low because of your professor's free will. He might not be a big fan of you, or your answers were too standard and lacking in creativity for an A grade. There are lots of videos and books out there that claim to summarize everything there is to know, but many of them are only timelines of everything that's happened so far, or are some kind of a collection of facts. Here is how good explanations look like. Space-time curvature as detailed by Einstein explains gravity so well that almost anything that the James Webb finds can be partially explained by its properties. So this one explanation can introduce someone to the knowledge of space science better than any single fact can. All those years cramming facts for exams might not have been the best use of our time or even childhoods. We'd be a lot better off if we had these in our fingertips rather than these. An explanation for why the taxation system is the way it is more useful in the long term than knowing what tax slab you fall under for 2024. An explanation for how difficult childhood events affect adult mental health is more useful than knowing what the different types of neurotransmitters are. Simply put, facts are better off being Googled, but explanations are better off being genuinely understood, absorbed, and used across knowledge areas. The overview of everything we know looks something like this, but it's going to get a lot bigger. Explanations will also expand, but not as much, and we can somewhat keep up